Hello everyone, and welcome to a little random thought video thing. This isn't an update, this is just me waffling on about something. I've recently been watching a lot of Squeeze Thoughts Behind the Wheels videos. They're quite interesting, and I thought, you know what, I haven't done a thoughty, rambly, talky video on this channel for a while that wasn't an update. So, here is a random thoughty, talky video thing. And speaking of Squee, the kind of thing I've been thinking about most recently has been pen and paper RPGs. I've been working my way through his Ardenfell series, and I'll probably watch his latest one that he's uploaded, which is episode 49, which admittedly is a couple of weeks old. I'll probably watch that after this. I've been working through it over the past week or so. And it's every time I hear it, and there's one other podcast I occasionally listen to, which was Journey into Madness, which is a fairly old one. It's a couple of years old now, which was working through the Enemy Within from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And I do find them quite interesting. When you kind of get into the character, you go to appreciate the characters. They're really interesting. And I'm always intrigued by pen and paper RPGs, because I always look at them and go, this would be really cool to do, and then I never manage to do them, because I'm terrible around people. It's true. I was, for my first year of uni, part of the Role-Playing Game Society, and we played through the Temple of Elemental Evil, or part of it, and we kind of got stuck in the dungeon, just kind of fighting. We've used all our stuff. We want to rest. You can't rest. You've been up for like 20 minutes. Oh. So that was a year of playing it. I have GM'd for one entire session, after which one of the players announced that he was emigrating to the other side of the world. I hope that those two facts aren't connected, but who knows. And the other players, there was only two other players, and myself, and they weren't too fussed. They were doing it just to hang out with the two of us, and so no one really wanted to continue it. Alas, alack, in other words, beginning with Al. So, as I'm probably never going to play or GM an RPG, I thought I would share with you two thoughts of campaigns that I would run if I ever had the chance. One is a little bit weird, and one is completely and utterly bonkers. So the first one, it's probably not that weird, the first one. The first one would be The Keys of Arianka. I've even got a title for it. It's inspired by some throwaway remark in the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay First Edition book, which is that one of the gods of law, who are kind of opposites to the gods of chaos, for those of you who know the Warhammer lore, is trapped in a sarcophagus somewhere, ? And there are keys somewhere to unlock said sarcophagus. So the campaign would be set before the Storm of Chaos, because the Storm of Chaos was rubbish, and if you know the Warhammer lore, you know it's a bit naff, or at least how it ended. The opening to the Storm of Chaos is this great idea. The four gods of chaos, who are normally fighting against each other, have come together and elected one champion. One champion will lead all of chaos to wipe out the old world and the new world, and just basically wreck the entire Warhammer universe. Well, Warhammer world. And they're coming south. And so what I'd have is the players need to get the keys, because they want to stop the Storm of Chaos, because they live in this world and they probably want to keep it that way, and they'd like to be alive, I'm guessing. No matter their thoughts, no matter the characters, they probably wouldn't mind continuing to exist. So they go in search of the keys. I'd probably have it be a random inverted commas mission. Just start off with a couple of random adventures, just, they're making money, trying to survive, and then in one of the missions they find something. I'm not entirely sure what the keys would be like. Maybe they'd be actual keys, or maybe they'd just be amulets or something. I haven't really... I've got the general idea. We'll get to that. And they investigate this object, assumably, because it looks valuable, but people don't want to buy it. Maybe they're a bit wary of it. Or maybe someone speaks to them through the amulet, because in the Warhammer world, everyone is crazy. And so they find out what it is. They discover what it is. It's one of the keys. And so they research Arianka, and she is the only one who can stop the Storm of Chaos. Or maybe, because I think there's supposed to be 4 gods of law, and there's 4 gods of chaos, and she's trapped and can't interfere, but if she gets free, then the 4 gods of law will balance out properly with the 4 gods of chaos, and stop the Storm of Chaos from happening. So that would mean that they need to release her, which means they need to find however many keys there are, and they need to find all the keys, they need to find the sarcophagus, and then they need to release her. So that's going to be a bit of investigation, finding these keys, and then finding the sarcophagus, and then there you go, campaign's done, you've stopped the Storm of Chaos. Now the other issue is, of course, that chaos is very insidious, and it has corrupted many individuals in the Empire. Maybe some of the elected counts are cavorting with chaos cultists. Or, it's like, heaven forfend that such heresy would occur, such blasphemy, but maybe the Grand Theogonist is in league with chaos, or Ulrich, or maybe the Emperor himself. So obviously there's going to be various individuals who want to stop the player characters from getting and using the keys to prevent the Storm of Chaos for whatever reason. Maybe they're not involved with chaos and they just see these as pretty baubles that could be sold for a pretty penny. Or maybe they are chaos cultists who want to stop these guys from pulling it off. I'm not entirely sure how much there'd be in dungeon delving. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is at its best when it's more a social interaction. I think Power Behind the Throne is one of their best adventures. So it might be more along those lines, where you're doing investigation and working things out, and you're trying to work out who's got it, and you're going to try and steal it and be a bit more skill-focused for the characters. Or there may be a couple, well, I think maybe a couple of dungeons, just kind of sprinkle them throughout, not on the level of Doomstones, which is very heavy on the dungeons. Bit of a mix, I think, would probably be a good idea for that. They get the keys, they go to the sarcophagus, done, Storm of Chaos is over. Hooray! I don't know how long that would be, because I don't know how often players would get keys, and I don't know how many keys there'd be. That's also an important thing. So that's the first one, stopping the Storm of Chaos and preventing Games Workshop from doing a terrible global campaign. Yay! The second one is weird. It's somewhat inspired by... Now, I've not played this game because I've never had a GameCube, but I've seen Let's Plays of it. It's Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. And the basic premise of the video game is that the player character, or the player, is Alexandra Roivas, I think. Or is it Alexander? No, it's Alexandra. Or is it Alex? Miss Roivas. And her grandfather dies, she inherits all his estate, and she starts investigating. Why did he die? How did he die? Etc, etc, etc. And as she investigates, the player flashes back to another character in another time who is doing something. And as the game goes on, we learn more and more that there are dark evil forces that are manipulating our world, so that at the right time they can come through a mystical gate and destroy everyone, eat everyone, take over everything. One of those states will occur, and it'd be rather interesting to do that as an RPG. So this would not work, I'm sure. I'm sure many people will comment with, this wouldn't work, Dragonster. But you have an overarching modern arc, story, campaign, with the modern day characters, modern day skills, And then, as they're investigating and finding out more about this whatever they're investigating, the players jump back to another period of history with different characters and they play through like a few adventures or maybe just one adventure, I don't know. And as that adventure goes on, the primary player characters in the modern day learn something about what's going on. Maybe it's some dark power is trying to come through into the world when the stars align, which will happen in the year 20 something something something. And when it's coming, as it's coming, and they go through these different histories and they learn more and more, they find out its weakness, how to defeat it, and such and such and such and such. This one's less well thought out. It would depend how you do it. I mean, you could, in theory, depending on the setting, the rule set, you could possibly use the same rule set all the way through, so your characters be very similar. Or you could have, if that wouldn't work, there's a variety of different rule sets, but then that's a variety of different rule sets that players need to learn, which is a problem. It's one of the problems with it. And then you've also got to think about what kind of things they need to learn. How do you close the gate? How do you stop the gate from opening? What's coming through the gate? Is there a gate? Where is the gate? Because, I mean, if we were using different rule sets, I've got variety up there. Ars Magica is about 12 AD. I recently got that. I need to read it. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is kind of Renaissance, Reformation period, so that's going to be around 16th century. Pendragon, Arthurian legend, is about 400, 500, I think. Call of Cthulhu, 1920s. Aces and Eights, that's kind of turn of the 20th century. It's a very interesting game, that one is. I don't know what else I've got. Is it, unfortunately? So that's part of the issue. Is it's kind of like how do you spread out the things? What kind of settings do you use? What creatures? There obviously have to be recurring ideas, recurring creatures, recurring stuff. To come up with that, and I'm kind of thinking, and it's also how many different settings are you going to use? Are you going to revisit those periods of history? Because you need, because otherwise we're playing one adventure. I'm glad you've created this one singular character for this half a session adventure. Hopefully not half a session, that'd be rather ridiculous. The other thought, of course, is how long would you put between cutaways, because otherwise you're not getting into the modern characters. Yeah, the more I think about this, the more rubbish it sounds. But those are two I'd love to do if I were GMing, or if I had to come up with one. I'd love to do The Enemy Within, which is a pre-published adventure. It's renowned as one of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay's best. It's the best one from first edition, so it's probably the best Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay campaign they've ever done for the first 3 books, and then it goes downhill for a variety of reasons. They don't go into, they don't end the plot, they don't wrap up all the loose ends, and the end of the 4th book literally has kill the players in. Well, I say literally, I'm paraphrasing. But it's a little bit of silly. It's a little bit of fun. It shows that it's more investigation than AD&D, and then you play Doomstones, and it's pretty much, well, that was written for AD&D, as far as I recall. So yes, I think out of the two, the more sensible one is the Keys of Adianka. Because it's only in the one world, and it's a world that's got structure and rules, and makes sense in a way. It's a world I know well. I wouldn't have to put a lot of work into coming up with stuff for it. It's a world that some players already would know quite well. It's not a homebrew kind of mishmash of combining ideas. And it would only be one character per player, unless characters died, of course. Which they would do in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It's very easy to die in that game. So yes, I'm rambling now, aren't I? I always end up rambling. So those are the 2 campaigns I would run if I were ever running an RPG. Which I never will be, fortunately for some. So yes, if you want me to do more of these rambly talky videos, please comment, and yeah, please comment. It's helpful to know if people really like these. Also, maybe if you want to post something, and that might spur off an idea of something else I want to talk about. Who knows? Who knows? So yes, thanks for listening. That sounds weird to say. Thanks for listening.